every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. And now, in our major stories. River State Governor Rotimi Amechi says his experience in the hands of security operatives in Ondo State was an attempt on his life. Also in this program, Defense Headquarters says terrorists who led the 2012 attack on the SAS headquarters in Abuja, identified as Malam Hussein, has died in a shootout with troops along the Jos-Bauchi highway. President Goodluck Jonathan taxed schools and provision of basic security for their boarding students. And outside Nigeria, United Nations says number of refugees around the world has topped 50 million, the highest since World War II.
And in business news, Shell offers £13 million to settle Nigerians' oil spills.
And sports. Underdogs Costa Rica defeat Italy at the ongoing World Cup in Brazil to make it 2 out of 2.
We'll begin tonight in Ibadan, where prominent Nigerians, Muslim clerics and royal fathers have jointly eulogized the late business mogul and Ibadan billionaire, late Aziz Arishekola Lao. They also advised both the electorate and politicians on good conduct towards the governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun states. Omotayo Alo has details.
Burial of the Ibadan philanthropist attracted scores of prominent Nigerians and the masses that gathered at his residence in Ibadan. His home looked like a tourist attraction. A prayer session was conducted for him by the Muslim faithful. A prayer session was also held there, and it was merriment and celebration of the deceased. To his friends, colleagues, elder and junior family members, the lifestyle of Arishekola is an admirable one.
First of all is to emulate him by his ways, his character, his behavior, his intelligence, and all the related things he has done for the Muslims and the Christians.
His values included piety, and despite being a Muslim, he had eyes and knack for all religions, Christianity and traditional.
Will I say, like a rallying point for everybody in this town. And honestly, we miss him.
Chief Arishekola was a philanthropist par excellence. He was a community man. He was a man of the people. He wasn't a politician, but if he had been one, he would have been a very successful politician indeed.
His mother, only some few years back. His father, very many years back. He was brought up in the village, and eventually he survived the village, he survived the city, and he survived the international community. You understand me? So he is a very, very versatile person.
It's a gift to humanity. His life is very remarkable, and his type of life that cannot be duplicated.
A detribalized Nigerian, a man of the people, a man who loves everybody, whether you are young or old, or Yoruba or Hausa. You know, you never for once left his house empty-handed.
His death no doubt brought pain and sadness to most people, but their utmost desire is for him to find a good place of rest in paradise. On the forthcoming 2015 elections, friends and family of Arishekola advised Nigerians to vote with their conscience. They also pleaded with aspiring leaders to contest for the right reasons, not taking the process to be a do-or-die affair.
Even if we are 30,000 or 100,000, only one man at any particular time will make the leader. And it is only God that provides that leader to the nation.
Love of the community, interreligious faith, interreligious tolerance, philanthropy, truth, integrity.
We should just try to vote our conscience and not allow ourselves to be too much influenced by money.
Oyo State Governor Abiola Ajimobi also honored the late businessman and philanthropist. The demise of Arishekola Alawo brought all and sundry to the ancient city of Ibadan in celebration of a life regarded to one that shows love, kindness and cheerful giving. What they hope for is that leaders in Nigeria would imbibe such principle, and with that, Nigeria would be a better place to live in. Omotayo Alo, CoreTV News, Ibadan.
Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi says there was a deliberate attempt on his life. Amechi was speaking hours after he was stopped by security forces to attend the mega rally of the All Progressives Congress in Ekiti. He made the statement in a press conference attended by the national chairman of the party, John Odige Oyego, and Bukola Saraki.
As we were going, I got a call from the party hierarchy to say, we are aware of what is happening, we are coming to meet you, so wait. So I stopped. Only to turn my back, they were following me. After about 5 to 6 to 7 kilometers of driving, you still followed me here. So at that point, I insisted that I was going nowhere anymore, and I stayed put in that position. And they gave me 20 minutes to move or they will shoot me. I said, and all my people panicked. My security panicked, the Dogimbi panicked, my CPS panicked, everybody must go, must go. I said, now I'm ready for the shooting. So I made my prayer. And I made my prayer, I said, I'm ready for the shooting. I will not leave here. So I stayed put, 20 minutes passed, they came back and said, they give us 10 more minutes or they will be forced to shoot. I said, they better start shooting. Because at the 10 minutes, I'll still be here.
The Conference of Nigerian Political Parties says the withdrawal of 100 billion naira suit against the Abacha family by the federal government is a politically motivated move tantamount to flushing away the billions of naira looted by late General Sani Abacha. The Ministry of Finance had stated on Thursday that as part of negotiations to expedite the recovery of the funds looted by the late general, the Abachas agreed to discontinue their suit before the European Court for Human Rights. The federal government subsequently withdrew the case because the Abachas paving the way for the release of the looted funds by Liechtenstein. However, CNPP claimed that President Goodluck Jonathan went into a political deal with the Abachas so that they could get the vote of the people of Kano in 2015. The conference says it received with outrage the news from Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. It added that it is as pains that not only has President Jonathan bluntly refused to officially and diligently request for the recovery of looted funds by other Nigerians, he has, because of the votes he hopes the Abachas will garner for him in Kano, flushed away 413.68 billion naira. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more. Do stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ghana. Please remain seated and ensure your seatbelts are fastened. You can now turn on your MTN mobile phone data to enjoy a browsing rate of 5 kobo per kilobyte with MTN One World. Thank you.
Absolutely. Browse like home with MTN One World. Surfing the web from any MTN operating country costs the same like home. Enjoy affordable rates when you call and send text messages. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN, everywhere you go.
This one wash challenge will test Ariel to see if it removes stains in one wash. Let the challenge begin. First, chocolate and juice. We will wash shirts with Ariel. Look, Ariel has cleaned in just one wash. So which detergent removes stains in one wash? Ariel, P&G Everyday Quality brand.
Come June 21, it will be decision day for the people of Ekiti. 18 candidates are gunning for one seat.
I am the next governor of Ekiti.
But the people will have the final say.
I know that tolerance has a very big place.
Join extensive coverage of the election and get up to the many details as development unfolds.
I'm the voice of the Ekiti people.
With expert analysis from the best political team on television.
And that's honesty of island. Without
Join us all day June 21 to find out who emerges the next governor of Ekiti State.
We have agreed to move this state forward.
Keep a date with us on CoreTV News. You can also watch us live on our website on www.coretvnews.com, a 24-hour news station.
CoreTV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Thanks for being there. For more information on our news and other programs, you can visit us on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow us on our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG, as well as on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV and news. Nigerian military authorities say the man who led the 2012 attack on the SAS headquarters in Abuja has died in a shootout with the troops along the Jos-Bauchi highway. Defense spokesman Chris Olukolade identified the terrorist as Malam Hussein. The man, who the military described as a notorious terrorist, is said to be the leader of a terror cell built to operate in Plateau State. Olukolade disclosed in a statement that Hussein and his men attacked a military convoy but were subdued in the ensuing gun battle. Items recovered from the terrorist, according to the military spokesman, include a van used by the group, 8 primed explosives, rifles, pistols, and 70 rounds of ammunition. In another development, 2 men found loitering around the Aba prisons are in army custody after they were arrested by prison officials. The Presidential Fact-Finding Committee on the Chibok abduction has put the number of missing schoolgirls at 219 out of the initial 276 abducted by insurgents in April. The committee chairman, Ibrahim Sabo, disclosed this while presenting its findings to President Goodluck Jonathan. The committee also made suggestions and rescue options open to the authorities, but wants the report kept away from public glare.
He here wishes to lay to rest any residual doubt whether or not any student was abducted at Chibok. There was mass abduction on the 14th of April 2014. During the siege on the school, 119 students escaped from the school premises before the insurgents took away their classmates. And a total of 276 students were thus abducted. As of the time of finishing this report, only 57 of the abducted students have been reunited with their families after escaping along the zigzag transport route taken by the insurgents, or by bolting to safety when the insurgents laid off for rest. Sadly, 219 students remain unaccounted for.
Let me also use this unique opportunity to appreciate
the commitment of all Nigerians on this issue of the Chibok girls and the terrorism in the northern part of the country. The international community, both international organizations and key international figures and friendly countries have expressed their concerns. A number of them have been working with government, helping us in various ways to see that we get this girl out and we bring terror to an end in the country. Let me reassure the chairman and members of this committee that your effort will not be in vain, because though you've mentioned it very clearly that the report will have a restricted distribution because of the security nature, but myself and members of the Security Council will digest it properly and see the areas of exception and use it maximally to solve the unique problem that the country has now.
Meanwhile, the German parliament is keen in supporting Nigeria's quest for the safe return of hundreds of schoolgirls abducted by insurgents from Chibok, Borno State, over 2 months ago. Vice President of the German Bundestag, Johannes Ingama, who led the team to Nigeria, gave the assurance during the solidarity meeting with members of the Bring Back Our Girls movement. It was, however, not specific of the type of support the parliament is offering Nigeria. The National Orientation Agency has denied suggestions that the car rigged with explosives was discovered at the old Federal Secretariat in Abuja. The NOA, through its Twitter account, dismissed the bomb claim. It, however, admitted that there was a bomb scare that elicited the presence of an anti-bomb squad and has confirmed that the suspected vehicle was not laden with bombs. Some indigents of Nigeria's capital, Abuja, are threatening to take laws into their hands if the authorities continue the indiscriminate demolition of their ancestral homes. This, they say, was part of the reason they blocked one of FCT's main highways shortly after the exercise began. But in spite of the demolition, many who lost homes and businesses have returned to the site.
The Commission will do a detailed investigation of whatever has taken place here and will come out with our findings. If you gauge the promptness of our reaction to this particular development, then you should be able to say that the Commission will not sleep on its duties. We will continue with the investigation, and at the shortest possible time, we will come out with findings.
The National Human Rights Commission is investigating claims that a woman and a baby died during the demolition of a settlement in Abuja. Leader of the investigative team told CoreTV News that the commission is also interested in knowing whether the FCT authorities complied with laid-down procedures. He spoke shortly on arrival at the demolished settlement. And moving on now, back to Lagos. The Lagos State University has released the new tuition fees to be paid by students, which ranged between 76,000 naira, 158,000 naira, and 250,000 naira, in compliance with the state government's directives. Spokesman of the university, Kayode Sutan, says the university's governing council had approved the new tuition fees. Governor Babatunde Fashola reduced the fees as a result of several protests by the students and civil society groups and directed the University Governing Council to give the breakdown. Sutan says the new school fees regime will not apply to students at 400 and 500 levels, who shall continue to pay the old rate of 25,000 naira. The management in the statement also directed all students of the university to resume for the 2013-2014 academic session on Monday, 23rd June, in view of the development. The statement says students are to commence the payment of school fees and registration immediately and urge them to be law-abiding as they resume. One of Nigeria's leading musicians, D'banj, is now diversified into agriculture in his 10th year in the music industry. He advocated for Nigeria to commit at least 10% of its annual budget on developing the agriculture sector in line with the Maputo Declaration. The musician said these at the meeting with Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala in Abuja.
I'm D'banj. When the one.org approached me in September, last year, September, October, and they told me they wanted me to champion a move in 2014, I said, what move? They said agriculture. I said, why? They said, the youths are beginning to forget about this. and that the average age of the farmers in Nigeria and Africa is between 55 and 70, and that what happens after, you know, in the nearest future. I said, for me personally, I can champion any move, but not agriculture, because growing up, if you think farmer, na poor, you think. Then they said you may go suffer, may you go work for somewhere, and then I got enlightened and I got educated, and I found out that Africa still remains the most land that we'll use to be able to feed the rest of the world.
I'm just so pleased that the One Board has put up this advocacy approach for agriculture. Every single thing that Deban said is true. The image of agriculture on the continent and in the country has been one of poverty, of older people, of lack of sophistication, and that has made our youth not to be interested. And yet, there are one or two things we know about agriculture. Number one is this continent does not have to import even 1 ton of food. You know, if you just take Nigeria, for example, I think we're using only about 44% of our arable land. You know, so we have so much land that is fertile that we can use for agriculture, the same all over Africa. That means that Africans not only should be able to feed themselves, but can feed the world. So that he'll know and he'll be able to testify that he saw it.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
So I've become the instrument for passing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I like the package as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're watching CoreTV Primetime News live from Lagos. We'll be back with more stories shortly after this break. Stay with us.
This one wash challenge will test Ariel to see if it removes stains in one wash. Let the challenge begin. First, chocolate and juice. We will wash shirts with Ariel. Look, Ariel has cleaned in just one wash. So which detergent removes stains in one wash? Ariel, P&G Everyday Quality brand.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ghana. Please remain seated and ensure your seatbelts are fastened. You can now turn on your MTN mobile phone data to enjoy a browsing rate of 5 kobo per kilobyte with MTN One World. Thank you.
Absolutely. Browse like home with MTN One World. Surfing the web from any MTN operating country costs the same like home. Enjoy affordable rates when you call and send text messages. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Come June 21, it will be decision day for the people of Ekiti. 18 candidates are gunning for one seat.
I am the next governor of Ekiti.
But the people will have the final say.
I know that tolerance has a very big place.
Join extensive coverage of the election and get up to the many details as development unfolds.
I'm the voice of the Ekiti people.
With expert analysis from the best political team on television.
And that's honesty of island. Without
Join us all day June 21 to find out who emerges the next governor of Ekiti State.
We have agreed to move this state forward.
Keep a date with us on CoreTV News. You can also watch us live on our website on www.coretvnews.com, a 24-hour news station.
CoreTV News presents a platform with presence in over 30 states of the Federation. Be sure to be had. For live coverage of events, we have the capacity to deliver from anywhere in Nigeria and beyond. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733, 014-533-407.
A 24-hour news station.
Hello there, you're welcome to the world of business with me, Sabina Izoku. Royal Dutch Shell is ready to pay up to £30 million in compensation for 2 oil spills in Nigeria in 2008 after a London court rejected a larger claim. Around 11,000 residents of the Bodo community in Niger Delta, represented by law firm Layday, appealed in 2011 to a London court for more than £300 million in compensation for the spilling of 500,000 barrels of oil. The London High Court rejected the claimant's attempt to expand the scope of compensation, ruling that the pipeline operators could not be held responsible for damage caused by oil theft. Shell's offer from September 2013 to settle the case for £30 million remains on the table. A trial is planned to start in May 2015 in Nigeria, but Shell urged the complaint to reach a settlement beforehand. Massive oil theft, sabotage of infrastructure and leaks from aging pipelines are cutting into the profits of all major operators in Nigeria, as well as damaging public finances of the African economy. The head of Chambers of Bulk Oil Distributors, CBOD, Senyo Hosi, says Ghana's government has quietly reintroduced fuel subsidies in April and has since spent around £85 million and dollars, I beg your pardon, in extra payments. The subsidies were scrapped early last year in a bid to reduce budget deficit and restore macroeconomic stability in Ghana. Reintroduction has not been publicly announced and senior government officials are unavailable for comment. The Chamber's chief executive also said Ghana's reserve of oil for domestic consumption normally stands at around 4 weeks, but fallen to 1 week because banks are refusing to extend credit to importers due to outstanding government payments. The federal government of Nigeria has revealed plans to tap into Iran's expertise in the electricity industry. The Iranian delegation, led by its Minister for Industry and Mines, Mohammad Reza, and comprising engineers, bankers and businessmen, met Friday in Abuja with Ministers of State of Power Mohammed Wakil. Reza pledged that Iran is ready to share expertise that made Iran self-sufficient with Nigeria. We're here to help Nigeria overcome the problem of insufficient electricity, noting that Iran has installed capacity of 70,000 megawatts and has over the years provided for a yearly increase of 5,000 megawatts annually. The Iranians also signified interest in Nigeria's power generation, transmission and distribution subsectors. There are also Iranian companies that are desirous of collaborating with Nigerian investors to produce switch gears, transformers and cables. The African Development Bank application to establish a 160 million naira medium-term note program in the Nigerian capital market has been approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The bank's 160 billion naira program will be used to finance a growing pipeline of projects requesting loans in Nigerian naira in the following sectors: infrastructure, services, and industries and financial sector. The Securities and Exchange Commission approval also includes a no objection for African Development Bank to commence the book building process for a planned issuance of first tranche of 16.2 billion naira under the program. The proceeds of the first bond issuance will be used to finance a line of credit to a financial institution which will on lend to corporates in the services and industry sector, a pipeline of infrastructure projects, and to small and medium-sized enterprises. The Indian High Commissioner joined the market activity in Nigeria and performed the ceremonial closing bell ringing for the day. In a brief speech, he said Indian High Commission had come a long way with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and are the highest trading partners in Africa to India. He said the Nigerian Stock Exchange is critical to economic growth. We are agro-based economy and want to come back to manufacturing.
Stock Exchange, and also see if there is any scope for the stock exchanges from India to cooperate with this, and also for the industry of India in Nigeria to work with the stock exchange. I would like to see the Indian clock in the stock exchange of Nigeria. That is the value addition which I would like to achieve.
However, India is a major exporter of pharmaceuticals and movies in Nigeria, and they are also the highest crude oil buyers from Nigeria. India High Commissioner hopes for more bilateral trade between Nigeria and India. And on the stock market report, trading ended on a positive note today as the Nigerian Stock Exchange All Shares Index appreciated by 0.15% to close at 41,129.27 basis points. Market capitalization increased by 0.15% to close at 13.58 trillion naira. At the end of trading, 419 million shares worth 4.44 billion naira were traded on 5,740 deals. Top 5 gainers are Corn Oil PLC, MRS PLC, Owando PLC, CAP PLC, Nigerian Breweries PLC, while Julius Berger led the top 5 losers list, followed by Dangote Cement PLC, GlaxoSmithKline PLC, Guaranty Trust Bank PLC, and Bulk Gas PLC, respectively. And here are the top 5 trades. And that's it on business news. Coming up next is sport news with Brownsie Owano. That's in a moment.
Very big thanks for joining us on Sport News tonight. I am Brownsie Owano. Nigeria's national team, the Super Eagles, arrived Cuba in central Brazil, venue of its next group encounter against Bosnia-Herzegovina for the game scheduled for Saturday evening in the city. While the Super Eagles trained in the evening, the Europeans were yet to arrive the city from their camp in Guarujá in Sao Paulo State. Meanwhile, New Zealand Peter O'Leary has been appointed as referee for the Saturday's Group F World Cup game between Nigeria and Bosnia-Herzegovina at Arena Pantanal in Cuba. Nigeria and Bosnia have never met at senior international level, and the stakes cannot be higher in the first confrontation. The Super Eagles drew their first game of the tournament 0-0 against Iran, while Bosnia, who currently sits bottom of the group, lost 2-1 to Argentina in their opening game. And to some other results in the World Cup, England has been eliminated at the group stage of the World Cup for the first time since 1958, as Italy lost 1-0 to Costa Rica in Recife. It is the first time the Three Lions have been knocked out after just 2 matches, with Roy Hodgson's side beaten by Group D rivals Italy and Uruguay. They needed Italy to win both of their remaining games to stand a chance to reach the last 16. Meanwhile, France's national side walloped Switzerland by 5-2 to book their tickets in the last 16. And away from that to the world of wrestling, Nigerian wrestler Osita Ofo, popularly known as Ultimate Commander, will defend his Commonwealth Championship belt in Lagos on 25th of July at the National Stadium, Surulere. The title defense against America's Bobby Lashley was postponed last December. The Nigerian champion says he is psychologically ready for the fight.
You have seen that the Ultimate Commander has been motivated psychologically. So it's going to boost my psychological effect. It's going to boost my psychological performances, because you could have the strength and the power and everything, but when you're psychologically down.
Ultimate Commander says the event will also feature boxing exhibition as a means of promoting the sport in the country, adding that he is up to the task
There
of
was an
retaining
unfinished
his
business I had
title.
with Bobby Lashley, so I want to finish my business with Bobby Lashley. And there's an unfinished business again I have with some guys who claims they are far better, that they don't want to visit Nigeria. So my championship and my personality will surely attract people like Matt Hardy. We're having Tornado, the guy that lifted Yokozuna in Japan those days, the guy that I defeated so many years ago. So he's coming back again to receive another beating.
Now to the world of tennis, Britain's reigning champions Andy Murray will start the defense of his title against Belgian David Goffins in Wimbledon. Murray and Goffins will open play on centre court on the first day of the championship. Top seed Novak Djokovic faces Andrei Gubelov, while Rafael Nadal will play Martin Klizan. Roger Federer will start against Paulo Lorenzi. On the women's side, top seed Serena Williams will play Anna Tipsarevic, and second seed Lina will face Paula Kaniak. And finally, on sport news tonight, Formula One, Nico Rosberg headed Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton in a rain-affected first practice session at the Australian Grand Prix. He was 0.14 seconds clear of Hamilton's, with Ferrari's Fernando Alonso third ahead of Williams' Felipe Massa, in a session punctuated by incidents including a spectacular double spin by world champion Sebastian Vettel. Jenson Button took fifth for McLaren. Force India of Sergio Perez and Nico Rosberg were 6th and 7th respectively. And that's my final whistle on sport news tonight. My name is Brownson Wananifemi Ogunso. You'll be back with the rest of the story. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back. For more on sports and other news stories, you can visit us on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow us on our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG, as well as on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV and news. Outside Nigeria, the number of people driven from their homes by conflict and crisis has topped 50 million for the first time since World War II, with Syrians hardest hit. The United Nations Refugee Agency says. The UN says there were 51.2 million forcibly displaced people at the end of 2013, a full 6 million higher than the previous year. The civil war in Syria is largely to blame for the global increase, the UN said in its annual report. The increased numbers have huge implications for aid budgets and place massive strains on nations on the front lines of refugee crisis. The world's top refugee hosts are Pakistan, Iran, and Lebanon.
More than 50 million people displaced by conflict or by persecution, either crossing borders or within the borders of their own country. All humanitarian agencies are overstretched. The capacity to respond is limited. The resources available are not enough. My appeal to the international community is to strongly support humanitarian actors, to strongly support the victims of this situation, to increase the funding levels that are so dramatically necessary. UNHCR has already deregistered about 50,000 Syrians in Lebanon that are no longer considered refugees. So we have criteria in which a person at a certain moment no longer is in need of protection.
The Haitian government has announced that legislative elections will be held in October, 3 years behind schedule, amidst a slow earthquake recovery process. The election delay has fueled anti-government demonstrations which have rocked the America's poorest country. The first round of voting for 112 deputies and 20 senators is scheduled for October 26. The date for the second round will be set by the Electoral Board. Thousands of people demonstrated in the streets of Port-au-Prince calling for the resignation of President Michel Martelly and his Chief of Staff, Laurent Lamothe, before police broke up the demonstration. 4 years after a devastating January 2010 earthquake, the deeply impoverished nation is still struggling to recover from the widespread devastation that killed 250,000 people. The tragedy originally left about 1 million people homeless. The assault by militants and the Levant group have overrun northern and north-central Iraq, driving south towards the capital. With the security forces seemingly unable to halt the advance, Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki announced that the government would arm civilian volunteers. Thousands of Iraqis answered the call at the recruitment center in central Baghdad. Soldiers patted down the arriving volunteers and checked their identity cards. They later piled into trucks to be taken to military bases for basic training. The commander of the recruitment center, Brigadier General Fadel Abdul Sahib, says thousands of people of all ages have joined up. The base of recruitment will likely be further boosted by a call from Grand Ayatollah al-Sistani, Iraq's top Shiite cleric, who is adored by millions and more influential than any of the country's politicians. To end the news, a reminder of our top stars. His experience in the hands of security operatives in Ondo State was an attempt on his life. And Defense Headquarters has said terrorists who led the 2012 attack on the SAS headquarters in Abuja, identified as Malam Hussein, has died in a shootout with troops along the Jos-Bauchi highway. And that's a wrap on the news tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.